In this tutorial, we'll discuss some basic keyframing concepts. We'll explore how to add keyframes, adjust their timing with the video animation panel, and how to avoid common keyframing mistakes. Open Project 409, Basic Keyframing. This is the same project from our last tutorial on transform properties. This time we want to animate the split screen. The top clip will fly in from the top part of the screen into its current position, and the bottom image will fly in from the bottom of the screen to land in its current position. To do this, we need position keyframes. Place the playhead on the very first frame of the top clip. Now, let's temporarily disable the bottom clip by right-clicking on it and choosing Disable. Now we can just focus on the first clip. Select it again and take a look at the inspector. The first step is to determine where you want the image to be at that moment in time. We want it to be off the screen, above the top of the video frame at the beginning. Increase the Y value until the clip moves above the frame. Now, to be mathematically precise, the actual number would be 810 pixels. Why that number? Because this is a 1920 by 1080 project. 810 is 75% of the 1080 height and will ensure that the images are off-screen in this scenario. That won't always be true, but it works here. It doesn't need to be exactly 810. It can be anything above that, but it's good to have a number to remember since we'll be applying a similar number to the bottom clip later. We should lock in the value for that precise moment in the timeline. Click on the Add a Keyframe icon to the right of the Position attribute. Now we move to another point in the timeline. Move the playhead forward to anywhere you want. We'll adjust the timing and speed momentarily. At this point in time, we want the image to be in its original position. If you recall, it originally had a Y value of 270. Enter it into the Y value and hit Return. Do not click the Add Keyframe button again. It can be tempting to do so, but Final Cut automatically adds the keyframe as soon as you change the value. Now let's see if it worked. Drag the playhead back to the beginning and hit the spacebar. The image flies in. But what if we want to change the speed or the landing position of this image? How do you do it? Bring up the Video Animation panel by right-clicking on the clip and choosing Show Video Animation. You could also use Ctrl-V. A deck of parameters opens above the clip similar to what is in the inspector. You should see Transform All, which shows all the transformation keyframes that have been applied. We have only applied position keyframes, but it's safest to select just the parameter you're adjusting. To do so, click the little triangle and select Position. Nothing changes because all we had were position keyframes, but again, it's the safer thing to do. To change how fast the clip moves, just change the timing between the two keyframes. You'll see the second keyframe, and just off the left edge of the clip, the first one. If you increase time between the two keyframes, the image moves slower, and decreasing the amount of space between the clips speeds it up. You're simply giving the clip either less or more time to get from point A to point B. There's a risk with keyframing that even long-term professionals still accidentally fall into once in a while, especially when in a hurry. For example, if we decide we don't want the image to stop at this position, but to keep going all the way to the bottom half of the screen. The easy mistake to make is to watch the clip play, then pause and change the Y value again by decreasing it until it gets to -270. You would type it in and expect it to put the image at the bottom of the screen. And you think you're good. However, this has accidentally added a third keyframe, which is not what you wanted at all. So now we have the image fly in and sort of awkwardly stops in the middle before moving at a different speed to the bottom part of the screen. That's not what we wanted at all. We wanted it to be at the bottom half of the screen at the second keyframe. To delete the accidental third keyframe, click it and hit delete. Now make sure the playhead is parked perfectly on the second keyframe. The safest way to do that is by using the previous keyframe button in the inspector, or depending on where the playhead is, the next keyframe button. Your playhead has to be parked on that keyframe. Once it is, you can type in whatever value you want. Enter -270, and the image jumps it to the bottom of the screen. And if you scrub through, you can see the image moves all the way to the bottom without an abrupt stop in the middle. If you like the original animation better, hit Undo, and now it stops again at the top half of the screen. We're all done with that clip, so close the video animation window and reactivate the bottom clip by right-clicking on it and choosing Enable. Challenge yourself and see if you can get the bottom clip to fly in from the bottom half of the screen and end at its current position. In this tutorial, we learned the basics of keyframing, how to add keyframes, adjust their timing with the video animation panel, and how to avoid a common keyframing mistake. In the next module, we'll begin exploring titles and motion graphics.